Today, the seizures I have are tonic-clonics, but those have calmed down to kind of once or twice a year. But I do have daily seizures. I struggle with myoclonic jerks, absence seizures, drop seizures occasionally, and sometimes my seizures will cause me to they'll impact certain parts of my brain. So I may lose my vision, may lose my speech, I may lose the ability to move, stuff like that. Eventually, we found ourselves at a comprehensive epilepsy center in New York City. Um, I underwent my first video EEG, and while I didn't have any visible seizures during that EEG, they captured enough subclinical information to give me a lifelong diagnosis of juvenile myoclonic epilepsy. And that diagnosis, that turned our world upside down. We were not expecting that. Um, I did not accept the diagnosis, and it's taken me probably over 12 years to accept the diagnosis. I didn't want to say the word seizure. The word seizure and epilepsy were not allowed in the house, but we still had to be safe about it. We did. That diagnosis in that moment was independence taken away from you. Um, the doctor asked me one, do you have any questions? And I remember, for some reason, the only question I had was, will I be able to drive? I don't know why that was my question, but it was my question. And the answer was no. I'd never had my license before, so it's not like it was getting taken away from me. But driving is a lot of, I mean, it can be a big deal. But more than that, it was, and I learned this kind of later, the stigma. I mean, the diagnosis of epilepsy at first was independence taken away. Later, it was, I mean, this is something that's feared. This is something that's you don't talk about. This is taboo. This is um the just the myths and the myths surrounding it were shocking to me, and I was really introduced to that when I returned when I got home and started class again. My classmate asked me, "Are you contagious?" And that's when it really hit home. Like, okay, I'm now a patient, and people are scared to be around me. um so I think at first the diagnosis was my independence is gone. And then the second one was, wow, this is, I'm being looked at kind of differently. I'm struggling. My grades at school went down the drain. Um, and you get to know who your real friends are, or who your friends kind of we go on with. And also it's hard because your friends those friends that are close, that do stick with you, they then become sort of what I referred to as babysitters, because it was a constant, are you okay, are you okay, are you okay? um so instead of kind of being that, wanting to be that normal kid again, you're that person, are you okay, are you okay? And that can change that relationship. You can't have those seizures in front of your classmates that can be humiliating. Those are your peers. You just don't want to be that different person, you know. After I graduated high school, I entered a an EMT class, an emergency medical technician class. And I knew I couldn't be an EMT, but like I said, I wanted to be a doctor. I absolutely love the human body. I find it fascinating. And I knew the instructor because he had worked on me at a horse show. Um, I had taken classes there at that college previously. It's a nice little community college we had. And I had taken English classes there and I had seizures in those classes. But this was a class that I could take that it was a class of interest to me. And I was so excited about it. So we talked to the instructor, we talked to the disabilities coordinator, you know, giving them all the information, making sure they were comfortable with me taking the class, kind of giving them every out if there need be to say, you know what, it's just not going to work. But they said, I may not be able to do everything. In the clinical part of it, I may not be able to get certified, but come learn, come take this class. I'm just like, and I was so excited about it. I ended up having a tonic-clonic seizure in that class. And afterwards, I was asked to, I received an email from the disabilities coordinator saying that the school had found my seizure to be too disruptive to the class, the learning of the class. And that in this instance, the school can ask the student to leave. So that's when I learned of the discrimination with epilepsy. So instead of taking it as a great learning opportunity, I mean, I gotta say, Michelle, I was a great victim for the class. I mean, so it was a great learning opportunity for the students. It really was. And unfortunately, it wasn't taken as that. It was, for me, I became, instead of a victim of, for a learning opportunity, became a victim of discrimination. And that was also another wake-up call of just the stigma of epilepsy. We've tried to kind of push my limits to see how far much independence I can get. And, to do that, you got to kind of push to see, and you may get some setbacks along the way. But I did apply for some virtual jobs, and let me back up. So I did continue with my education through online school, and I got certified as a medical transcriptionist. And with that, we looked for some virtual jobs, and I found a great company called iScribes, and I was with them for about 4 years. And they were great. They really helped me set up for success. It was great because I could work at my own flexible schedule. I had 24 hours to turn in my reports, and it didn't matter when they were turned in, as long as they were turned in within those 24 hours. So I could, work at night if maybe I had struggled during the day. But that was great. And if I was struggling, I could maybe have someone else help me. But I can't say enough about that company. But eventually it became noticeable that I could not balance work, my health, just my horse, my dog. I couldn't balance my entire life with, and I was starting to, it wasn't realistic, being in the workplace for me at that time, which is okay. So, I said, you know what, we'll just take a break from this. We'll regroup, and I went to school for medical billing and coding. Michelle, I cannot do medical billing and coding in ICD-10 for the life of me. That was just not going to happen. The absences, I didn't know at first when I would be having them. My mom or my dad would tell me. So that was tough, because you would miss a lot of information. especially during those school years when, they'd be giving pertinent information that could help you on your exams or something. That was difficult. Um, but as I've gotten older, I've gotten to know my body more. I've become more aware of those absence seizures when I'm having them. Like those drop ones and the tonic-clonic seizures. The headache, it is the headache from hell, I've got to say, Michelle. It can be more debilitating than the seizure itself, and I can be laid out on the couch or in bed for a week, up to a week afterwards. So one of the biggest things I hear with my mom and dad say, it's the helpless factor. Watching someone have a seizure, you can't do anything. You just can't. I mean, there's nothing to do. So you just have to sit there and watch it happen to your kid. And the word they throw around often is helpless. Um, even if it's not a big seizure, even if it's a, a, lots of little seizures that I'm struggling with during the day. Again, I'm stuck on the couch or in bed with a big headache with that there's no, you know, medication that can take away that pain. There's no like it's not Tylenol, Motrin leave. It's not that doesn't work. It's the worst headache. And again, they watch you maybe not have a seizure, but they watch you in just a lot of pain, helpless, not able to do anything about it. And so that's the word that often gets thrown around.